Howdy friends, Tadas here with Insomniac Next Door. Today's topic is melatonin, and I had a good night's sleep last night on melatonin, among probably 5 other supplements that I took. So that's an interesting thing that I usually have no clue what's working, but it's definitely part of my stack. However, it's not as harmless as you might think, what you've been led to believe by some friends or doctors. So over the years I've done some research that accumulated a few notes that I want to share with you, and hopefully that will be useful, especially things about the dosage and cautions and some of the other things of why it has been effective or it hasn't been effective for you. So for those the uninitiated ones, you might have heard melatonin is what they call a natural hormone, and it is natural when it's produced in your body, but it's nothing natural when it's produced in a pill that we take. It basically just mimics a hormone, but in general it's a neurohormone produced in our pineal gland of the brain and is responsible for our sleep cycles. So when you go travel abroad, like I have, between Europe and California quite a bit, right? So then you know your mind understands when you travel and you cross a different time zone, that your mind understands it's night, but your body has no freaking clue that you're operating in a different time zone. It needs to go to bed on your will. So the body and the hormonal system is not really willed into action. It basically has to adapt itself to natural rhythms of life and around us, and that takes a little bit of time, right? That's what it usually takes, a week or so. So and melatonin itself also interesting. It doesn't just appear out of the brain or pineal gland. It's not like, oh, it's born and it's there and we use it, right? So it's produced by a body through a very complex, intricate process. So in general, I'll read this, right, because this is complicated. In the synthesis of melatonin, basically in the process of producing it, tryptophan is converted to hydroxylated to hydroxytryptophan, which in turn is decarboxylated to 5-hydroxytryptamine, otherwise known as serotonin, right? So serotonin is converted to melatonin precursor and metabolite called N-acetylserotonin by the enzyme N-acetyltransferase. So it continues as N-acetylserotonin is methylated via the enzyme hydroxynidyl methyltransferase to produce melatonin. So here you see how simple that was. Boom, melatonin. So in short, tryptophan, I did a video about tryptophan and 5-HTP before, so go back and look at it too. But tryptophan from a general food protein is converted to serotonin, which is then converted to melatonin. And just imagine all this intelligent work is being done while you're simply reading a book or checking out your likes on Facebook, right? I mean, just how amazing our body is, how intelligent the systems are. And all these processes are being done and converted while we're doing completely what seems to be like, everyday stuff. So back to melatonin itself, it's a natural pacemaker, like I said, right? It basically signals your body a day and a time of the day, helping you regulate your body's internal clockwork, when to go to bed, when to awake, and so on. So that is why it's so important regulating your sleep schedule. I can't stress this enough, why it's so important to go to bed on time, because melatonin levels begin to increase approximately about 2 hours before a person goes to bed, right? And that's why it's a rigid sleep schedule will aid regularly with melatonin secretion. So in general, what I'm saying is there is a certain time of the day, usually around 9, when melatonin levels are starting to secrete. And if you're, at the movies or partying around and so on, you go to midnight, you missed that peak of melatonin that would have put you to sleep, and now you have to wait for another peak, another cycle, sleep cycle, and that may take you to 1 or 2 a.m. and you're fried. That night just hasn't happened. Your sleep hasn't really happened unless you're young and you can sleep till 1 a.m. My body's clock is so rigid that even if I go to bed at midnight or 1 or 2, I'll be up by 6 or 7. It's like it doesn't care. I'm rested, I'm not. 6 o'clock, I'm up. So it depends on how you function. So now, if you're dealing with lots of stress, then you're dealing with cortisol, right? And that is the king of stress hormone. So if you have a spike of cortisol at night, it could care less about your melatonin levels. Cortisol rules the day. So even if you take a melatonin pill, and if you have high cortisol at night, you're done, right? It's not gonna help you. You need to deal with cortisol. So cortisol as well. Melatonin is also very age-related problem. So young people up to their 30s usually have plenty of it. Usually not a problem. They go to bed, they fall asleep, they sleep through the night. No. From late 30s to 40s, our melatonin levels start to decrease. So I can definitely feel that my melatonin levels are way out of whack, right? And so supplementing, at my age group and older, might actually make sense and may produce quite a nice effect. Now, that's of course granted that your stress levels are normal, right? So problems. So what can be problems by taking melatonin? So through melatonin supplements, they'll help you, fall asleep. They may not keep you asleep. And if you're insomniac like me, then you know that, nice, I fell asleep, but 2 or 3 hours later, bam, I'm up. It doesn't matter, whether I took it or not. So, and it's highly, counterindicated, not suggested to take it throughout the night, because it definitely screw up your sleep cycles. You give melatonin to your brain when it's not supposed to be having it. So usually best, I'll get to it later as far as the dosage and the timing. But it's many times, you read online, it's so harmless, it doesn't create dependency. Oh, screw that. It definitely creates dependency. I've definitely experienced that I rely on it every night now. And if I don't take it, I don't fall asleep. So, there's even research that taking melatonin regularly shrinks that pineal gland that produces it, which kind of makes sense. And I really feel like taking melatonin regularly kind of makes your brain lazy, because if your brain's getting melatonin from external sources, it doesn't have to produce it, right? So if it doesn't have to produce it, it kind of goes into this hibernation mode. Oh, screw it, this guy's taking melatonin, I'm going to focus on conserving my energy, do something else. And that's why when you stop melatonin, it takes a while for you to suffer through quite a few nights till the brain says something's wrong, or maybe I need to try melatonin, and then it produces melatonin, it works, so you have to go back to the normal cycle, and that can take a while. I don't know how long you've been taking it, but if you can't take it, if you can't take it and you can't sleep, then you've created a dependency in your brain. Is it so? My approach to everything, over the years has been to take a step backward in the methylation process and the production process of certain hormones, and see what can help with producing melatonin if you don't take it directly, so you don't overdose it, so that your body naturally produces the right amount. And L-tryptophan is an amino acid that I did a video on already. And L-tryptophan, like I said, in the synthesis of melatonin is the number one thing that will help you produce enough melatonin. So try L-tryptophan before you do take melatonin. Anyways, dosage, right? That's usually the big question. I've seen people saying, I just need a little tiny microgram, and some other idiots take like 50 milligrams, which is insane. It's absolutely insane. It doesn't work like that. if you overload your brain with something, that doesn't mean that it's going to have 50 times more effect. It's crazy, right? So don't do it. Don't take more than you get in these simple bottles. But even that, what's interesting is that there's some research done. Proper dosage, according to this study in 2001, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, right, says that you only need 0.3 milligrams. And the research was conducted by Richard Worthman, who pioneered the pharmaceutical use of melatonin in 1994. And basically, pills and supplements often sell 10 times the suggested amount of single dose, right? Take this, for example. 3 milligrams, which is 10 times what the study research showed. So this can lead this can lead to higher plasma melatonin levels basically in your blood the next day, which can cause a hangover effect. And for me, it doesn't. And if it does, usually that's a welcome thing because I'm usually kind of wired anyways. So he says, he says that any person in the sleep world will tell you the same thing. Melatonin is not harmless. It is vastly overused and should not be used as a sleep aid to treat insomnia. So usually they say it was created for a single reason, to help you overcome a time difference when you go to a different time zone, right? But we insomniacs, of course, test things and try it, and if it works, we take it, even without considering the consequences of long-term effects. And I'm guilty of it, I still take it. So, dose is usually very individual, right? Different supplements range different doses. So you can see 1 milligram, this is 2.5 milligrams, this is 3 milligrams. It's very different. And the thing is, what I've learned, that if you don't take enough, then it won't help you, right? It won't make you sleepy. It won't put you to sleep. But if you take too much, then it can make you a little drowsy, but you'll wake up early. And I don't mean early in the morning, like in the middle of the night. Usually I do it anyways, but I can tell if I've taken too much melatonin, then I wake up and I can't sleep. So at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., you're done, right? Because you've messed with natural cycles of melatonin. You confused your body when it's time to wake up and so on. Like I said, naturally regulates your sleep patterns, right? So in general, we need way less than what is marketed to us, way less than this. So if you're new to this, try 0.5 milligrams, not even 1 milligram, like 0.5 or 0.75. And then go up in dosage, like 1 milligram, 2 milligrams, 3 milligrams, and that kind of stuff. Now, type. Believe it or not, there's even different types of melatonin. Not different types, but different deliverers, I would say, right? And I experiment, I'm crazy, so I experiment with all of them. I got all of them. And there's regular melatonin. You take a pill, bam, you swallow it. It goes through your liver, it breaks it down, methylated, and so on. Goes the leftovers goes into your brain. So then there is sublingual type, right, where you put it under your tongue and through the saliva duct, it gets absorbed into your bloodstream. And they say this one works much faster, and I have to agree. You just have to make sure that you don't swallow the saliva. It has to go through your saliva ducts and get absorbed like that. And the thing about sublingual types, you have to take way less, because a lot of this gets lost in this whole process that it has to go into converted through your liver, intestinal tract, and so on. This goes into your bloodstream, into your brain much faster. So 3 milligrams of this is not the same as 3 milligrams of this. You're getting a much bigger dose, and I realized that right away. So I usually take like a third or a half of this, and they both work fine. I still think I take the regular one more. I think it has a more stable, sort of predictable outcome. But the sublingual one is also very interesting to try, and it works faster. So, and then there is time release melatonin, which has special coating, and then it's released very slowly. So if you're really having a melatonin problem throughout the night, then this one is the one to try. Especially when you maybe travel and so on, you need the melatonin longer, but this won't put you to sleep as easily because you're going to have very micro levels released, and you might be waiting for it for a long time. This one is good, like a bomb, and this one is just kind of drips on you. But supposedly it keeps you asleep longer. Not for me. It didn't work for me. It doesn't put me to sleep. It doesn't keep me asleep. Definitely, I'm having way bigger problems than melatonin shortage. So, what type and which kind to take? I'd be an idiot if I told you just one type or this type or that brand. You have to try things. That's why I always encourage you. I'm sharing you my experience. Hopefully it's giving some guidelines on what to look for and what to try. And that is my biggest mission here, is that you try it on your own and find the thing that works for you. But keep in mind about some of these cautions that I mentioned here. And definitely be smart in how you use it. Start small, like I always say, start small, and just find the right dose. Don't overdo it, because then you're creating imbalances. And I highly recommend, if you can, off cycle of for a while before you do it again. So I've been on it for a few months now, and I know it's time for me to come off, and I've waited way too long. So hopefully you follow my advice here. And if you have some experiences of your own or some interesting research, please share in the comments for everybody else to see. So wishing you a good night's sleep, sleep well. Someday you will, I'm sure. We'll figure this out. So take care for now.